Hello and welcome to another glorious read. I am your host, Aspen MSH. Let's get into it. The days are counting down. Christmas is coming. I hope everybody has got their shopping list done. If you're like me, sometimes there's always that one last minute gift you have to get. I am notorious for that. Sometimes I rush to make things. But today I got to play Santa Claus. I got to do a little delivery and I loved it. My friends who I hold dear got their gifts for Christmas and just a couple journals that I made from leather and a couple signs for their family members in their homes. So I wanted to get them something nice that they could use and see every day. That being said, the holidays are fast approaching and is the dreaded time of the season where we gotta get everything done. And with that being said, I don't know what next week is going to hold for the podcast. If we are going to do next week or if I'm just going to skip a week and I'll do one after New Year's. You guys will know because obviously you guys get the notification. Also, I want to thank anybody who else is now following the podcast and listening to in. It is always nice to have some new faces and people that are obviously bookworms as much as I am and like to listen to the reviews. I am working on my other books. I've been definitely working on Daniel's Aries a lot. It's definitely growing and I think it's better. I'm also adding my villain, who is Cain, who's supposed to be the devil himself, more of an ass because I've already had people come up to me and go, is he gonna die yet? Like he needs to be taken out either by a sniper, a boss, something. I'm like, you have to be patient. The story is blowing. You have to listen to the series. And of course, with only two books being written, the 12 or two published and the 12 written, and I'm still adding details because my mind goes, ooh, that would be good to put in the story. Of course, as fast as I'm writing, I'm also reading. And so let's get into this week's book review. So I like to switch between like different reads between the shifter books and the ones that aren't shifters. I was hoping for more of a dark romance. I was going to read something from my TBR shelf, but this one jumped out at me and I had to read it. This one is actually called Arran's Obsession by Jolie Vines. So, definitely a book that I was not thinking I was going to like, but it jumped out at me and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. Maybe it was the mysterious masked man on the cover in the bright colors. I don't know. It jumped out at me and I had to read it. So, this story is, I want to say it maybe take overseas in England or even Scotland because there was bits of the pieces over there. It's actually about a girl named Guinevere, and Guinevere is the main female character, and she is looking for her dad, but she's also like, I guess, very outgoing. She's trying to get money. Her mom is deceased. Her brother is also working hard to keep a living. Well, Guinevere noticed that two suited men put a um, letter on the door basically for eviction, and she is talking to a woman named Cherry who is a sex worker. Cherry is very friendly with her, and Guinevere is very friendly with her. And the woman's kind of like a little guardian. She's like, "Oh yeah, your dad took the money and run. That's the other reason why you'd be evicted because you guys already paid your rent." So of course Guinevere's like, "Oh great, that's all I need," and she goes to for a her delivery job riding a scooter, and because she's worried about where her father's been, she can't get a hold of her brother, and the eviction notice, she ends up getting hit by a car. And I don't mean like, oh my god, she's critically injured, hit by a car. She just gets hit by a car and falls over and gets a couple bumps and scratches. Lucky for her. So she runs into this guy who was driving the car, who happens to be our main lead male, Arran. Arran is very cautious about her, worried that he's hurt her. She does get a couple bruises and scratches, and then he notices how she's dressed, other than the big jacket she wears, and he asks her if she is a sex worker, and she's kind of actually appalled by it, even though she likes Cherry, who is one. And he's like, "Just asking, no offense." Um, and she's like, "Nope," and she takes off running because he's kind of scary because this area is run by gangs, and she finds out that he's a gang member or thinks he's a gang member um, in the beginning, and then come to find out he is running one, but he doesn't call his a gang. His is a crew, but he also runs a club place and a bar place. Um, and of course, he's also trying to actually atone for how he grew up. Aaron is you can tell this poor boy has had a rough childhood, and it's true because he was hit with the unprofitable life. His dad was, I guess, the chief of police, I'm guessing, and he also bought sex workers and prostitution and sex slaves and stuff like that. And Aaron is trying to atone for his father's sins by making a safe place for these women to work. He does not take their money, he gives it to them, they earned it, so that it goes for them and only them. He also pays for like childcare and stuff like that for them. So at heart, he's a good man. It's just one of those things that you're like, he could be dangerous, and he is, and you hear that in the book because there is knife play, there is stabbing, there is murder. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and he also runs a place in this place, because it's a warehouse, he runs a game. And the game is about five women who sign up for this, and like 20 men chase them down, fight over each other to get this one woman to be basically a weird relationship setup. So it's basically um, a dating app with violence, is what it is. But it's more attaches to the primal need. Um, and of course, our main female character, and I literally was reading this book and I was like, oh, hon, no. Like, you could just see it that she knows he's now part of the game because you went there and he runs this place that she doesn't agree with. And she's like, yep, I'll definitely, work at your place for money, blah, blah, blah. And she runs scared, but she comes back during game night, and I was sitting there and I was reading it. I was like, oh no, please don't be that naive. Don't be that naive. She does. She goes into the game and then she realizes that she made a mistake. And during this mistake, she ends up running and hiding for her life. And of course, there's rules for this game that Aaron and his people are not, or crew as he calls them, are not allowed to participate in these games. The only thing that happens is during Guinevere's running, she finds out one of his guys is in the game and he's chasing her down. Well, Aaron comes in at the last minute because he's already obsessed with this woman beyond all recognition, and he claims her in the game. And now she's stuck with him, and they have to go away for a week. And of course, this week they're away, they go to visit his best friends, and like it's almost like a bonded family, the blood of the womb, or is thicker than the water of the womb kind of thing. Or yeah, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the moon. You get it. So he goes there and he's like, yes, things are not going well. So the rules are they have to spend a week together, no more than 2 hours apart, and they have to have sex every day. And of course, she's like, okay with that, but he's not so keen on it. He was a virgin beforehand for a reason that he made a vow to himself because of how he grew up. But Guinevere is falling for this guy Wicked, and she was like, I'll give you for use. And of course, that was all he needed to hear. But he kind of punishes her for what she did by thinking of not letting her finish, but him finish. In his mind, he's pretty sure this woman from his dreams that he is madly now falling for and is obsessed with is now attached to another game to infiltrate him and take him down. He's kind of paranoid about it, but yet she's like, you're a gang. I'm the one scared. And it goes back and forth until they both realize that they need each other. As they return back to, after a while, they return back to the place where he was, or he runs, and kind of brings her into it, and like all the dancers and stuff are like, oh, we are so happy for you, it's good to see the boss actually happy and blah blah blah, except for one lady. And this one lady was actually bought for him as a young girl, and she's like, my job is to protect him, and I don't want him to become his father, and then you show up. So there's a little bitterness there. There's also another woman who's causing problems. Um, and there's also murders in this book, and it kind of throws you for a loop. And there's also a lot of crime that you're like, okay, that needs to be taken care of, and they do. I do like this book. This book was good. It's got a good plot line, but it continues into the next book, and I have purchased the next book. I just haven't read it yet. Um, it's basically about one of his crew members. Um, so as the story goes on, you find out that Guinevere and him want to finish this whole challenge where they do get married and they stay bonded. And she's still worried about her father, and she finds her father, or they find his father at the end, and her brother finally comes back around. And they're also running from, you know, making sure that no other gang members or any other interruptions going. And I love it because Aaron gives Guinevere the name Maniac. He's like, you're my little maniac because of all the crazy stuff she does because she's so impulsive. And I'm like, oh, like every time she does something that makes me slap my forehead, I'm like, oh dear God, woman, you are gonna either get somebody killed or you're gonna get yourself killed, and I'm not sure which one's gonna be first. I mean, she does things that make you go, why? Like, you can't be that naive and know all these, like, gang members and everything like that, just not to have the street smarts. Like, she just, like, has no problem yelling things out at people, and they're like, do you want to run by that again? And she's just like, oh, did I say something wrong? So Aaron does call her maniac all the time, and he's just like, "Can you just stop? Like before I like put things in your mouth to just keep you quiet." Um, they do have a lot of sex. I can't believe how much they have, and I'm sitting there going, "Thank God she's on birth control," because I'm like, these two, if they ever had a child, it's gonna be crazy. But there is a murder also coming out. There's actually two murders. And one is very hurtful to Gwen, and also the other one is kind of the woman that she replaced, kind of thing. And they're thinking it's a sign for Aaron because of how his mother was killed, and then they think it's against Guinevere, and then they finally realize that it's neither of them, and it goes to the next story. It's very like it's complex, but at the same time, it's not. Like you have to keep an open mind as you read this book. But like I said, it caught my attention, and I loved it. So definitely one of the side characters I loved. His name is Shade. He's kind of funny. He's definitely a Scottishman who's like, "Oh, I'm down for causing people violence." He's like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." But my favorite character is definitely Aaron in this book, just because even though he's trying to overcome past traumas, you can tell he's such a good boy. Like he's trying so hard, even though he's like, I'm not capable of love. I don't know the meaning of that. He's a good guy. Like he's a green flag with red taping kind of thing. And of course, Guinevere, like I said, she's so naive. I'm like, I wanted to like her, but I'm at the same time like, oh, somebody put her on a leash and just cage her, lock her up in a freaking nice place so she doesn't get hurt. Because like this woman was bound to get hurt at some point. Um, but she's also like not a bad character. It's just I wish she had a little bit more smarts. I do wish the author um, gave her just a little bit more. Like she does good. She does good. It's just the fact that she's a little too sweet for where she lives. Um, the spice scene, like I said, there's a lot of sex. It's just the spice scenes could have been more. I give it a low ranking 4, but I'm gonna keep it to 4 stars. The whole story, I give it a 5 stars. It's a really good written book. I enjoyed it. I got sucked into it. I was reading chapter after chapter after chapter, enough that I'm reading the second book, and there's supposed to be a third book. So like I said, the second book is actually Shade's book, and it's about a girl that Shade likes. I'm assuming there's a lot of disclaimers and warnings in the beginning, but it's called Connor's Claim, being Shade's real name being Connor, and the other one being Roscoe. And of course, Roscoe get the shit kicked out of him because he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and his boss found out. And Roscoe was the guy who was in the game Who Shouldn't Have Been, and Arran found out and asked him if he's double crossing. So, I definitely recommend this to be on your to read list. I don't know how I feel about it completely, but it's definitely a good book. It definitely is I don't want to call it a dark romance because it's really not, but it's definitely more of the milder violence. I mean, there was knife play, there is murders. You hear about people getting cut up and stuff like that, and teeth being pulled and bodies being disposed of. You also hear about murder and how people are left. It's not detailed enough for me to call it a dark horror or anything. Um, and I don't really consider it a dark fantasy where, like, there's not a thing where she's like running and he's being creepy because, his crew wears skeleton masks kind of thing. You don't hear a lot of that. So I wouldn't consider it a complete dark fantasy. It's not like The Hunted that I read a while back. But I'm hopefully going to get another after this series. But then again, I'm waiting for other series to pop out or finish series because I'm still reading the V-Clan Sector books kind of thing, and I'm also reading the Hell's Knights. So hopefully that's kind of come out, and then of course back to the King series. I'm still waiting for Gamma in the with Gamma and Abby. So I'm hoping that book comes out soon. I'm waiting, but I still have a whole bunch of lists to read, and I'm also waiting for the other books from the Irish Mafia books that I was reading. So there's a lot going on. I'm also thinking about going back possibly to some old books that I was reading, like the Scatter Soul series and the Seven series, what's a Shifter series that I read when I was at the factory, or well, listened to because audio. It's easier to work with hands and listen to it because it's sometimes nice just to work with your hands, but yet you're got something and you're able to go somewhere else, and it's kind of like mechanical. So I do enjoy a good audiobook. I'm hoping in the future maybe I'll be able to listen to audiobooks because I do love how narrators do voices. Sometimes there is other ones that I'm not so keen about, but others I am. But it is what it is. Everybody has their perks. Some people like physical books, some people like hardcovers, some people like Kindles, some people like to listen to them. I'm all of the above. I'm not picky. I just have a Kindle, so I buy the books off the Kindle, and plus they're cheaper for me at this current moment. And I don't have a place for a library, or else I would have an extravagant library full of books and reading area and dim light and a little coffee machine and make it a little fantasy because I'm a sucker for fantasy and stuff like that, and I would do it, but I don't have the space for it currently, and I can't build on at the moment, or else I would. But like I said, that is Arran's Obsession. I definitely say look at it, read it. It's supposed to be like a new age fantasy novel kind of thing. Like it's a borderline supposed to be smut, but with younger generation. Like I think Gwen is like 25 and Aaron's like 28 or something like that. So it's definitely a little bit different. I also do apologize for the recording. My recording stuff is busted and it's getting fixed currently. So I'm trying to work with what I can. And I do hope everybody has a really nice holiday coming up. I hope you get the books or whatever you want for Christmas. I hope that you also spread your own Christmas cheer, even if it's just baking like something very nice, like a cake, and just delivering it to somebody, sharing a coffee, telling a story, whatever it is. Go do something nice and do something for yourself also, because like if you don't, then like you can't say that you went on an adventure. And everybody wants to be surrounded by, many adventures. You want to be like somebody who's like a wizard and collects their stuff and displays it for everybody to see. But also make sure that you go visit your friends or even give them a call, give them a chat. I mean, I did that today and I loved it because I enjoy seeing my people. And I also love having my daily conversation with my bestie when she does call me, and like we just talk about random crap, mostly about the books I read, but or I'm writing. So I do hope everybody has a really good Christmas and a blessed Yule and a happy New Year, because next week after Christmas we are going into the year 2025. Yes, so you know make sure you update your New Year's resolution to read more books. I don't know if anybody else is doing that. I mean, I would like to. I know I try to read a book a week, sometimes two. Depends on the situation and how sucked in I get into it. But like I said, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. Go do something nice. Do something adventurous with it in legal means. We don't need to be in trouble. And also say the weird crap because why not? Make people double think and be like, made you think, didn't it? But thank you for listening, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And I'll see you on the next podcast. And I do, like I said, I don't know if it's gonna be this month or this week. I'm gonna have one or next week. Either way, I will return, and then we can continue. And hopefully, I'll get through this Connor's Claim book and then tell you more about my books that I'm writing. But thank you again for listening and have a great day. Bye bye.